So I shot this with a Canon R5 28-70 f2.0. You know, you get that golden sunlight from sunset. It's just really, really warm. So what I did was I paired that AD200 with my mag gels and the mag sphere. My goal for this was I wanted to do no photoshopping, no magic and post-production. I just wanted to be straight out of camera, proper flash use to create this photo. All right, we're back with how I shot this video. Before we dive into how I shot this specific photo right here, I want to give you a little background about the event itself. This is a wedding I just shot over in New York. Absolutely gorgeous venue, incredible couple. You know, we have had a lot of back and forth about what they really wanted, what their vision was, some inspo photos. We had a shared gallery with some photos that they really, really loved about the venue. And as the days got closer, you know, I talked to them. I was like, I really want to know what are the absolute must-haves out of this gallery that you created, this curated vision board. Which ones are like absolute? I would love to have something like this. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to recreate somebody else's work. We're just going to take that inspiration and kind of bring it to life in our own way with our own approach and our own look, right? One of the absolute must-have photos that she loved, that she really wanted to have from this venue, was a photo on this balcony right here during sunset with the sun shining through, you know, this gazebo here. And I said, no problem. Beautiful. Scouted the location, figure out where the sun was going to be at what time, had everything planned. As all wedding photographers will know, things don't always go as planned. Sure enough, on the wedding day, it rained all day long. It was super cloudy all day long. So either way, all the photos leading up to this moment were just incredible, even in the rain. And that's what I reassured my couples. You know, the photos are going to be amazing no matter what, whether it's raining or not. It's going to be unique and it's going to be beautiful. However, I really knew that they wanted this photo of the sunset with the sun shining through the gazebo, and I was determined to make it happen. This is where knowing how to use flash comes into play, because without flash, you can't make something like this happen. Throughout the day, I told him, you know, I know there's this one photo you really, really want. Don't stress. We're going to get it. But, you know, the whole time it's like, how are we going to do that? There's no sun. There's no sun. Don't worry. There's no sun, but it's not a problem. We're going to make it happen. We're going to get you that photo. We're going to stay optimistic. The sun's going to come out. And if it doesn't come out, we're still going to make it happen. Okay. So finally the time came and I said, okay, let's do the photo. There was no sun, super cloudy, got them set up. So I shot this with a Canon R5 28-70 f2.0. And I used an Godox AD200 Pro to light it up, emulate the sunshine. The light alone from the Godox wasn't going to be warm enough. You know, you get that golden sunlight from sunset. It's just really, really warm. So what I did was I paired that AD200 with my mag gels and the mag sphere. I did a half CTO mag gel, the mag sphere, just to enlarge the light source of the AD200 to round it up a little bit. That's how we achieved this look. We put that puppy on a stand. We started to kind of mess around with it. So let me walk you through here my process and how it began, right? So first we set them up and started messing around. You can see this is straight out of camera. This is my basic imports right here. So straight out of camera, base imports. I started out first, I had my second shooter right here behind this column holding the light. You can see kind of a light shine right here, a little rim light off the side. I like the temperature of the light, but I didn't think it was strong enough. It also wasn't giving me that sunset feel to it. As you see, we keep moving around. I'm still not feeling like there's a sunset vibe. I know for sure what I wanted in my mind. I wanted the light peeking off the side of the column, just to hide the source, and you get that kind of sun flare coming off of the edge of something, which I love that look. I think it's super romantic, and that's what they liked about it. We started out with, my assistant was down here, down below, holding that 9-foot stand with a light way up high behind the column, aimed at the couple, but it just wasn't doing it. I knew we needed the light to be higher and more exposed, so I had my assistant come around to the other side. It still wasn't doing it. And then I decided to have my assistant come up. So you see here, you start to see that flare, right? If you look closely, you can see the light right there. You see a little bit of flare. It was still not doing it for me because clearly there's trees back here. The sun wouldn't be coming that low. You see there's a mountain back there and the water. So I mean, the horizon's, sea level right here. So that's not where the sun is. So we needed to be realistic. We shifted plans. A, I needed to switch my angle, and B, I needed to switch the positioning of the light to make it more natural. I backed up a little bit. I got a little bit lower. We got my second shooter up above. My plan was to hide her behind this column. If I couldn't hide her, it's no problem. You just take 2 frames and then Photoshop them out. But my goal for this was I wanted to do no Photoshopping, no magic and post-production. I just wanted to be straight out of camera, proper flash use to create this photo. Okay. So there was no Photoshopping, nothing. You can see the light stand here, and my indicator, my cue was I really wanted that bulb to barely be peeking over, so you get that kind of flare. And I started to like the direction of the sun a little more on them. I started to like that you see some of that light kind of shining on the ground and their long shadow as you would from the sunset on the ground. I'm starting to like this better, and we keep moving about. Now you're seeing too much of the light. It doesn't feel realistic, because if the sun was technically here, you would get more of a light coming through the trees. It didn't feel real. So my goal was to try and get this bulb right here, right on the edge of the hilltop and on the edge of the column. So my next cue to my second shooter was, I want you to just rest the mag sphere right on the edge of that column so it stays in place. So as that happened, the next thing I noticed, my light wasn't bright enough. So my settings are 350, 2.0, 640. That was just what I wanted my ambient light to be. And then I jacked up my light. I started at 128, then I went to 64th. I jacked it up to a 32nd of the power right here. And you see how it got a lot brighter. We get more of a light leak throughout the entire space, and it gives you more of that shiny, brighter sunset time glare. But I'm still not nailing that horizon line. The other thing that I needed was, I felt like the light didn't look too natural on them. The light source was too close to them. So I needed to add a little more separation in between them and the light source. Let go of each other, hold hands in the middle, and I want you to walk towards the camera, ignoring the camera, just kind of having a moment together right there. And that's when we got this shot right here. Not only adding the separation gave it more of a natural look, but also it got rid of these really bright highlights that the bride was getting because the light is facing right at her. Naturally, if the sun was way far behind the hills, there would be no highlights on the front of her throat. It would be on the back because they'd be backlit. So it didn't look natural for that light to be hidden that way. It just, the physics of it didn't make sense. So that's why I had him walk away at a little more distance. And now we get more of that natural light look from the sunset, right? Because it is hitting only the back. There's no front of them being lit up. The light is leaking through. We lined it up right with a column right here and right on the horizon. So now it's looking more like a natural sunset would. When it's setting right over the hill, peaking right over there. We get that nice flare. I think that we nailed that look that she wanted, which was the backlit sun flare in an absolute rainy, cloudy day. This goes back to having the ability to use Flash and understanding of how Flash works so you can recreate moments like this. I think that that's the most important thing to remember, is that just because you bring all your flashes and you know how to use Flash doesn't mean that you need to shoot the entire wedding with Flash. But what it is that you have this skill, this tool in your back pocket for moments exactly like this. These are the moments that I preach about when I say every wedding photographer should know how to use Flash. Well, would the bride have been happy even if we didn't get the shot? Yes, absolutely. I would like to think that I would still walked away being super happy because we got incredible photos even before this when it was super rainy, indoors, outdoors. We got absolute magic. However, I think that being able to provide a photo like this in the conditions that we had just speaks volumes to what you can do. And your client will walk away way more impressed and way more excited. Like you just, the experience that you provided just got elevated through the roof because of being able to provide a photo like this on a rainy, cloudy day. It's about blowing minds and just exceeding expectations. So having that tool allows you to have the peace and calm throughout the entire day, saying, no problem. We're gonna get this photo even if there is no sun. If I didn't know how to use flash, I would have never dared to say, yes, either way, we're gonna get it, right? I would just be hoping and praying for the sun to come out. But knowing that I know how to use flash and I have the right tools, I was able to do this picture right here. That's why I think it's so important that every wedding photographer should know how to use and operate flash. If you're interested, I do have that flash course still going where I teach you my approach and my formula. So exactly how I went up to balancing ambient light with the output of a flash. I talk through my very simple steps that I go through to set up this picture real quickly. It took me to get the lighting right and everything. We literally got this shot done, I want to say, in like 5 to 7 minutes. And then we moved on and we did a whole bunch of other pictures without flash and the natural light that were absolutely gorgeous. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful and encouraging because, as I said, if you're a wedding photographer or shooting events, you should absolutely know how to use the tools. Even if you just bring one flash with you, you should know how to use flash because it'll save you in moments like this, and it'll give you that extra confidence that no matter what the situation is, you can absolutely slay and exceed expectations every time. I have more to come, and I'll see you in the next one.